included in the most recent state hazard mitigation plan that was adopted by the governor. And more recently, we have partnered with GEMA and our local communities on a building resilient infrastructure and communities application and a program strategy for our coastal area. Next slide, please. And this is the exciting one. We are going to have our next climate conference on Jekyll Island, August 12th and 13th. It is going to be in person, yay. And registration is open on our website, georgiaclimateconference.org. We are also still accepting poster abstracts until June 1st. And I believe we have a full agenda, and you will, some of our panel speakers that you're going to hear this afternoon are also going to be speakers at our conference. Next slide, please. And then lastly, I really wanted to talk about this really cool initiative that we have had going now for probably 8 or 9 years through the partnership with Sea Grant. Our two offices come together to host the Georgia Coastal Hazards Community of Practice. So our goal for the Community of Practice is to have a group comprised of professionals who work with coastal hazards planning, outreach, and research. The purpose is to exchange information on projects with attention towards identifying overlap and gaps with regards to coastal issues, and our outcome is also to create a network to provide stakeholders with accurate and timely information, necessary tools, and readily available assistance related to coastal hazard impacts and adaptation. So if your logo is not on this page and you're interested in joining us, please reach out to myself or to Jill Gamble with Sea Grant, and we would be happy to have you join us on our quarterly meetings. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. Jan McKinnon is our next speaker.
All right. Thank you, Katie. Hi, everyone. My name is Jan McKinnon. I'm a program manager with the Coastal Management Program, and you've heard already and will continue to hear from several of my colleagues about work we're doing at Coastal Resources Division. But I wanted to highlight just a few projects that I thought you would be interested in from both the perspectives of research and teaching. So CRD is the delegated authority governor and stewards of state-owned marshlands and beaches. And as such, our division wears many hats of commitment, including commitments to the public in outreach and education, policy implementation, and as such, evaluation of impacts to these resources, community planning and statewide planning, as well as regional, and collaboration with those partners. And many of you are included, of course, in those partnerships. And we also have a commitment to support and apply the best available science. Next slide. So I wanted to mention a project you've heard about a little bit already, beneficial use of dredge material. This is a project, one of the projects, I should say, we've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers on is what we call the thin layer placement site behind Jekyll Island. And the goal of this project is to develop economically efficient and environmentally acceptable methods of managing dredge material. So as a part of this project, there has been a lot of monitoring applied. And the lead for a lot of this monitoring is Dr. Christine Laddick at Georgia Southern University, and she's working in partnership with the University of South Carolina. We have also been supplementing monitoring and committing to monitoring specific invertebrate communities, as well as producing habitat maps. And you can see a picture of the placement, actively placing sediment in April of 2019 on the top of this slide, and the bottom slide shows a picture of regrowth in May of 2021. So we'll be monitoring this site to determine how quickly marshes can bounce back in the short term and then long term, what the effects of thin layer placement are. I wanted to mention too that the GCRC, led by Dr. Merrill, has been a great resource for us in transferring a lot of science to management, and this report is one example of that. Next slide, please. We've also continued to work with property owners on living shorelines, and I wanted to show a few slides highlighting Cannons Point living shoreline as well as Little Cumberland Island, and specifically mention to you all that we will be work in collaboration with partners, we will be producing a children's book on living shorelines. You can see a screenshot of that in the bottom. And hopefully this summer, people will have it in their hands to be able to educate fourth graders and others on living shorelines in coastal Georgia. Next slide. We also host students through internships. And if you are interested in that, please contact me. And we would love to partner and be able to expose students to some of the work that we do. And we're continuing to work with the Golden Ray pollution cleanup as well. And I know my time is up, so thank you.
Thank you, Jan. I appreciate it. Sorry for such a short turnaround. Our next presenter will be Kelsey Broik.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Broich. I'm a landscape designer and visualization specialist for UGA Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant's Stormwater Program. And I also work with Shauna Jones and Scott Pippin at the Carl Vinson Institute of Government. And I focus on visualizations for nature-based and stormwater green infrastructure. I'm going to talk about my research from my research traineeship. In 2020, I graduated with my master's in landscape architecture. And for my traineeship, I worked on a photo-based landscape perception survey to better understand preferences for seasonality in coastal bioretention systems. So bioretention systems are important because they mimic the natural water cycle. Compared to gray infrastructure, they provide many ecological benefits, such as improving water quality, flood protection, and providing habitat for wildlife. The visual appearances of these practices can impact the stewardship of them. I've heard many stories about the mismanagement of bioretention systems because they were misunderstood or perceived as messy. And as a result, they were mismanaged or even removed. Next slide, please. So understanding visual preferences can inform the design of bioretention systems. Aesthetics or visual appearances can connect people to these practices who may not understand their function. Beauty and intentional design can instill value and may serve as a cue to care or maintain the landscape. Results from our survey reveal that respondents preferred the growing seasons, spring and summer, over dormant seasons like winter. Perhaps people's preferences were driven by greenery or flowering plants. These systems may be most at risk of mismanagement during the winter when they lack preference. So the study led to new directions in research, but also suggests that landscape designers and managers consider intentional seasonality in planting design. What if the least preferred winter sites looked like this? This designer used plants that remained green in the winter. Perhaps intentional year-round seasonal interest will improve the stewardship and adoption of bioretention practices. Next slide. With growing rates of development and impervious cover, it is important to preserve green spaces and promote the use of green stormwater infrastructure to capture, cool, and treat stormwater runoff. Greater adoption of green infrastructure can support not only ecological benefits, but also community well-being and climate resiliency. What happens to our cities impacts our waterways and eventually our oceans. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Our next speaker is Lauren Carroll.
Hey y'all, my name's Lauren. I am a master's student studying under Nate Niblink and Warnell at UGA. I want to talk to y'all about my project as I was a 2020 Georgia Sea Grant trainee. So the purpose of my project is to better understand how climate change may impact Georgia's estuarine fishes. The objective of this project include investigating how environmental and climatic gradients influence trends in estuarine neckline abundance, and to create a mass balance food web model in order to project possible time dynamic climate change scenarios and how they impact Georgia estuarine neckline abundance and trophic dynamics using a modeling software called EcoPath with EcoSim. Next slide, please. So the graph on the top is Dr. Rachel Guy's 2014 analysis of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources Coastal Resources Division Juvenile Trawl Survey. So the graph indicates a possible decline in abundance of key estuarine species. My analysis on the bottom was created once more data was available and indicates a possible return to baseline or decadal oscillation. So analysis of a longer data set is required to better understand these trends. Recent literature has found that a minimum of 10 years is needed in data to understand and tease apart short-term trends, while a minimum of 15 years of data is needed for long-term trends. So we will be attempting to tease apart short and long-term trends, decadal oscillations, and bioclimatic influences relevant for climate change using a more historical data set. The CRD has the Ecological Monitoring Trawl Survey, which includes over 40 years of data on Penaeid shrimp and over 17 years of data on finfish. This historical data set will allow more context in which we can explore the trends of the juvenile data set and mass balance food web for the South Atlantic. A mass balance food web for the South Atlantic bite will serve as a template for a Georgia estuarine food web. So Georgia-specific long-standing data sets with life history and diet compositions from the literature will allow us to build a Georgia estuarine food web. Mapping out an interactive mass balance food web model will allow us to forecast possible changes to future abundances based on climate change scenarios. Next slide. Stakeholders that could be impacted by this project include researchers who may build upon our food web model and gain a further understanding of the system, resource managers who could use the model as another tool in their management toolkit when looking to the future, commercial and recreational fisheries may see implications for the future and planning opportunities, and lastly, the general public will have access to this model to provide a greater understanding of the system, the threats it faces, and an appreciation for those who manage it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lauren. So our next speaker is Peter Kiarelli.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Peter.
All right, hello. I am a 2020 Georgia Sea Grant research trainee. I'm a UGA food science student, and I recently just graduated with my master's degree in food science. If you want, you can just skip to the whole slide just to make it easy. Yeah, so I'm a food science student, so a lot of the trends going on, especially in a lot of industries, is innovation. So innovation, according to Merriam-Webster, is a new idea, method, or device, something novel. So we can see this in the technology field with new virtual reality sets or iPhones. This also happens in medicine, say with new vaccines or treatments. And less thought of is actually in the food industry, where you can see the trends of plant-based foods, which have really taken off. But one really interesting is actually jellyfish, which kind of brings me into my research. So what we do is we research cannonball jellyfish. And what we did was we created a food ingredient, gelatin. Can you skip some more? So in this photo, you can see salted and dried jellyfish given to us by Golden Island International in Darien, Georgia. And what we did was we produced jellyfish gelatin powder. Next slide, please. So you may ask, why is this important? Well, the point of our research was to help Georgia's jellyfish industry diversify its portfolio of products. Can you skip, please? You can skip a little more, sorry. So yeah, so in this photo, we can see Georgia jellyfish, fishermen and women catching these cannonball jellyfish. And what they do is they process these in a brining process to produce salted and dried jellyfish. So one of the issues with the Georgia jellyfish industry is actually they only produce one product, and this is mainly exported to China. So one of the issues is trade wars, and continued trade wars have caused an uncertainty for this market. So this is actually a source of income for shrimpers in the off season of the shrimping industry. So they actually came to us, to Georgia Sea Grant, and asked if we can actually help them produce a US market for cannonball jellyfish. Next slide, please. So some of the real world applications are candies, beverages, edible films, and gelatin can also be used in recipes for thickeners, emulsifiers, or stabilizers. It can also be used in a different range of industries, from the pharmaceutical industry, next please, cosmetics, as well as in the medical field. So there's many different uses for gelatin, and our point of this research was to take cannonball jellyfish and actually produce hopefully a US sustainable market for the product. And you can skip one more. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to my professor, Dr. Kevin Nasoval, or myself, if you would like to learn more about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next speaker will be Charles Derby.
Hey, thank you. So I'm at Georgia State University, and collaborators are Brian Flush and Lisa Gentit of Sea Grant, and as well, not mentioned here, George Chamberlain, who we have worked with in the past on bait development. So next slide. We are trying to do is develop an alternative bait to be used in fisheries, in this particular case in catching blue crabs in Georgia. So we're using our ideas to have this a sustainable, relative, inexpensive synthetic bait. Oops, if you can go back, thanks. And so one part of this is developing the attractant. And we have already done that through a previous project that George Chamberlain and I worked on in aquaculture of shrimp. So in that project, we developed the attractant as well as a method of releasing this attractant in that case, it's from a food pellet. But so we're generalizing this idea for bait and fisheries for crustaceans. So from that, the first project that we started after that was to scale up. So on the left, you can see what our prototype bait looked like, but these are just generated in the lab. So when you need to make hundreds or thousands of pounds of this, scaling up is important. And that means working with extruding companies to produce this. So that's one aspect of it. And the other, Brian has and his wife, Hope in Savannah, and Marcus Stamey in Townsend. So we've done some preliminary trials with this. I think I can go to the next one, is what we're doing. And made some bait, and then we begin testing it. Oops, it says I'm a little unstable, but I hope you can still hear me. And now just to return to the bait just a bit, the idea here, of course, is to make this commercially sustainable as well, or competitive, which we are doing. The ingredients in these is no animal products in it. It's all plant or synthetic material. And of course, the issue is availability of the bait. And while this isn't currently really, the availability of menhaden is not an issue in Georgia. If you look at fisheries like in New England for the lobster fishery there, it is. So, so where we are with this, we've made 2 iterations of this bait. And unfortunately, these 2 iterations don't have quite the right consistency. So they're releasing the attractant too quickly. So we have a new bait production scheduled for July 8th. So within a couple of weeks of that, we should be able to start testing. Okay, and then the last slide, just to say, this is sustainable. Broader applications we can use lobsters, and Brian especially can connect us with the fishing communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Our next speaker will be Jennifer Dorick.
Hi, all. I am Jennifer Dorick. I'm a first-year PhD student in the food science department, and I focus on food safety, food microbiology. And a little bit of my research is I focus on aquaponic systems, and currently there are no regulations on these aquaponic systems. And so we're hoping that through a very extensive research project that we will be able to provide some resources for maybe government agencies to provide some sort of food safety regulations associated with these types of systems. Next slide. So first of all, what exactly is aquaponics? And aquaponics is a symbiotic relationship between the fish, microorganisms, and plants, and they are able to grow in one recirculating system where the water travels from the fish to the roots of the plants and then usually back to the fish. And the microorganisms break down the ammonia that is produced by these freshwater fish and converts it to nitrites and then to nitrates, which is the available form of nitrogen for plants. And so there are a little bit of food safety concerns associated with this, as fish are not usually associated with foodborne pathogens. And so there's just kind of a question as to whether there are any concerns and where they are located and where we should be focusing. Next slide, please. And so I'm completing, initially it was a 1-year study, and now we are continuing it to a 2-year study of these types of aquaponic systems. And so the biggest questions with this is, what pathogens are present? Are they the common produce pathogens, or do the fish introduce other pathogens that are not commonly associated with produce? And where exactly are they coming from? And there aren't really any regulations on these types of systems, but there is the Food Safety Modernization Act, which is for commercial produce growers. Next slide, please. And so hopefully by my research, we are able to provide some food safety resources to local aquaponic farmers, maybe provide a food safety plan example for these farmers to then go off of. And currently there's a USDA aquaponics good agricultural practice pilot that's going on. And so hopefully there'll be regulations from that, and maybe our research will contribute to that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. We are right on schedule, Mona, so we have about 10 minutes for some extracurricular introductions.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Katie. So hello, everybody. Once again, I'll call out your names. So please mention your name, title, affiliation, your research interests, and anything that you hope to gain from the symposium. So here we go. Alison Sauce. Alison, you're muted.
Hi, is my camera working? I can't.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Hi, everybody. My name's Allison Sauce, and I am the Geospatial Analyst and Research Program Specialist at Grays Reef National Marine Sanctuary. I'm also a UGA affiliate, so I officially work for UGA and at the Skidaway Institute of Oceanography. And my research focuses on our Sanctuary Sound project, where we're listening to the sounds of Grays Reef underwater. And we're also doing fish tagging as well, and also mapping live bottom habitats off the coast of Georgia. So I'm very happy to be here today with all of you.
Welcome, Allison. Anne Lindsay. Okay, we'll come back to Anne. Beth. Beth, would you like to introduce yourself?
Beth Paciatti?
Yes.
I don't know if there's more than one.
Oh, sorry.
It's a common name.
Very
My
sorry.
name is Beth Paciatti. I am the grants coordinator at the Coastal Resources Division, and I work with Coastal Incentive Grants. I'll be telling you a little bit more about that in the near future.
Thank you, Beth. I see Anne is up. Anne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Everybody, my name is Ann Lindsay. I'm one of the marine education faculty with University of Georgia Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant. I also serve as the director of the Marine Education Center and Aquarium on Skidaway Island. Happy to be learning new things.
Thank you, Anne. Brian Fleck.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Flick. I'm the Associate Marine Extension Director with Marine Extension Georgia Sea Grant. I am based down in Brunswick, and besides overseeing our extension programs, also work in the area of fisheries and tourism. So glad to be here and just soaking up as much as I can just to learn about what's happening on our coast.
Great to see you, Brian and Anne. Let's go to Carl Bergman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carl Bergman. I'm Associate VP for Research at UGA. I work with quite a number of you, and I serve on the Sea Grant Board. So I always enjoy coming to this thing and hearing about what's going on the coast. Yesterday, I found the coastal management very interesting. I grew up on Long Island back in the 50s when the concept of coastal management was how many houses could you put on a marsh? And I think we all saw from Hurricane Sandy what happens as a result of that, maybe 40 or 50 years later. So I think the work everybody here does and is really critical. So I'm just looking forward to learning a bit more.
Thank you, Carl. And thanks for your service on our advisory board. Really appreciate it. Charles Derby. You're muted.
Well, you just heard what my research interests are. I'm at Georgia State University and I'm generally interested in these types of things, chemical sensing in crustaceans.
Thank you, Charles. And Charles McMillan.
Hello, everyone. Charles McMillan with Georgia Conservancy. I'm the coastal director out of Savannah. Spend a lot of time on St. Simon's Island and in Brunswick. I'm really enjoying, I have a wide interest in coastal ecosystems, and I'm just learning so much. I love the format this year. Thank you so much. Enjoying it.
Thank you, Charles. And thanks for, once again, your service on our advisory board. Moving on to Charlotte James.
Hi, I'm Charlotte James. I'm interning with the UGA Marine Extension and the Georgia Sea Grant, specifically with the Coastal Resilience Program. And I hope to learn about other research that's happening and what other people are doing to protect the coast and conserve our natural resources.
Thank you for being here, Charlotte. It's really encouraging to see all students, Sea Grant funded students, participate in the meeting today. Thanks again for being here. Moving on, Clark Alexander.
Hi, I'm Clark Alexander. I spoke yesterday, so you've seen a little bit of the things I like to do. I'm the director of the Skidaway Institute of Oceanography. I'm a coastal and marine geologist by training. And I've enjoyed working with Sea Grant and the Coastal Management Program over the last 20 years.
Clark, thank you for your service on our advisory board. Moving on to Courtney Walling.
Oh, can you see me? Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I was struggling with my mouse. I'm Courtney Balling. I'm a PhD student in integrative conservation and geography. And I study the impacts that sea level rise and climate change have on septic tanks. And I'm also looking at historic access to wastewater infrastructure in general. The Sea Grant Symposium is my favorite of the year. I always love seeing what everybody has been up to over the course of the year and seeing how different projects are progressing. So glad to be here. Good to see you guys.
Thank you so much for being here, Courtney. Moving on to Danny Gleason.
I'm Danny Gleason. I'm director of the Institute for Coastal Plain Science at Georgia Southern, and I'm a marine ecologist by training, working on invertebrates. And yeah, I usually like to get updated on what's happening along the Georgia coast. So this is beneficial each year.
Fabulous. Great to see you. David, our IT guru. David, would you like to introduce yourself?
You caught me working. Sorry. I'm David Kwiatkowski. I work for EITS, the central IT group for UGA. I actually take care of the Marine Extension virtually and in person. I've actually been enjoying everything here. I'm trying to do a little bit of side work at this too.
Thank you so much for your service, David. Really appreciate it. Moving on to Doug Sampson.
Hi, everyone. I am the reserve manager for the Sapelo Island National Estuarine Research Reserve. I'm also a member of the advisory board for Georgia Sea Grant. I mess around with climate and sea level rise data and annoy a lot of my colleagues with emails every once in a while, but otherwise don't do research. Part of my job is to facilitate research by our staff, by partners, by collaborators. And I do whatever I can to help make research projects happen. Thanks.
Thank you for your service on our advisory board too, Doug. Really appreciate it. Moving on to Dr. Erica Holman and their intern who is on the lap.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Erica Holloman Hill. I'm with IECA Solutions Incorporated. We are a family-owned environmental consulting firm. I am a Georgia peach through and through, an Atlanta native, and I'm a marine scientist. I became the first African-American woman to get a PhD from the Virginia Institute of Marine Science in 2012. So intimately connected to Sea Grant through the Virginia Sea Grant program. I recently moved back home, and so am now getting connected to my marine coastal family here in Georgia. Shout out to Amanda, a fellow classmate of mine from back in the day. And so just really excited to be in this space. My expertise is ecotoxicology with Mike Newman. Many of you all may know Mike Newman. He taught several classes at UGA. He was my academic advisor. Areas of expertise, human and ecological risk assessment, environmental justice, community-based participatory research methodology, participatory action research methodology, climate and energy, and then the intersection between socially vulnerable population, because I'm a Black woman. I'm part of the social vulnerable population that I study in relation to climate, resiliency, regenerative economy, and what does that mean for here in Georgia. Many of you work with several of my colleagues and friends from Savannah at Harambe House to here in Atlanta at the West Atlanta Watershed Alliance. Both are clients of mine. So excited to be here and in this network. Thank you.
Welcome back to Georgia, Dr. Holloman, and thank you for your insightful questions yesterday. We learned a lot.
Amazing, thank you.
Fabulous. Moving on, Emily Griffith.
Hi, everybody. I'm a Marine Education Fellow with UGA Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant on Skidaway Island, and I'm just really excited to learn what everyone's talking about and incorporate it on the education side of things.
Fabulous. We'll have one more introduction before we get into the lightning round again. Shannon Motsky.
Hi, thank you. My name is Shannon Matsky. I am a master's student at Georgia Southern, and I'm also a current Georgia Sea Grant research trainee. My work is out on Tybee Island, where I'm doing a study on the native vegetation of the coastal sand dunes that were recently constructed out there.
Fabulous. Great to see you, Shannon. We'll dive right back into the presentation since we're on time. Katie, please take it away.
All right. Thank you, Mona. Our next speaker will be Danny Gleason.
There we go. So you guys have already heard, well, it looks like there's something in the background there, which I didn't know would be there. I'm director of the Institute for Coastal Plain Science at Georgia Southern University. And our mission is to promote, in coordination with public and private partnerships, interdisciplinary research and education that's directed toward understanding the physical and biological resources that occur below the fall line and their sustainable use and management. And I really wanted to do two things today. I first wanted to sell a little bit, and then I wanted to ask for your assistance. So if I could have the next slide, please. All right, we have a new Bachelor's of Science program that will be starting in sustainability science. We anticipate this will start in spring of 2022. This is tentative based on Board of Education approval, which we're waiting on now. But this is kind of the selling part of this presentation. We're going to have it's a standard 120 credit hour degree program. It's very much science-based, and it's based out of the College of Science and Mathematics, but it will be interdisciplinary. So it will include all the departments in that college, including biology, chemistry, geology, and geography, and math and physics. But students will also be able to round out their sustainability education by taking electives in departments in other colleges that can include anthropology and political science and sociology and other such areas. So that will be starting up in 2022. Could I have the next slide, please? And this is where I'm asking for your help. Every student that is in this program will be required to do a capstone experience. They will either do a practicum in environmental sustainability or they will do sustainability research. And this will be required of all the majors. So what I'm asking is if you have internship opportunities or you have research opportunities and you could get a student involved for a semester or more than a semester, please let me know. My contact information is on the screen here, dgleason@georgiasouthern.edu. Send me an email. And I'm collecting right now, so we'll be able to match up students in the future. And if you'd like to talk about this more, just let me know and I'll be happy to contact you about this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Danny. And I guess I am up as our next speaker. I'm going to time myself, so I promise not to take any more time than the rest of you. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Shorebird, the Coastal Awareness and Responsible Ecotourism certification program that I've been working on for the last year and a half. It's a very collaborative program, working closely with a colleague, Abby Sterling, who is a shorebird biologist, working with the Georgia Bight Shorebird Conservation Initiative through Manomet, and also closely with our very own shorebird biologist, Tim Keyes, with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, through funding with the Coastal Resources Division through a CIG grant. We have been working closely with eco-tour guides, with water-based tourism guides, to design and implement a certification program. Next slide, please. So the reason for a lot of this is because shorebirds as a group of birds have been on a pretty steep decline for several decades as far as population numbers. Shorebirds use our coastal ecosystem during migration, for feeding purposes, during breeding season as well. And human disturbance has some pretty strong effects on those birds, both if they are migrating through as well as if they are breeding along the Georgia coast. So our program objectives have been to basically create an opportunity to build support for conservation action. Our tour guides come in contact with tourists who are both residents of the coast as well as visiting the coast from the state of Georgia and internationally. So there's a really good opportunity to speak with people about shorebird conservation and about conservation of our coastal resources in general. The idea is to reduce recreational disturbance of our coastal habitats through education and outreach. And to incentivize our responsible eco-tour guides through the certification program or process. So really working to create a credential that folks can have on their CVs, that they can use on their website, that they can promote through tourism boards, et cetera, and work to make sure that those who are knowledgeable about our coast and about its resources are getting that bit as far as getting that the credit for where credit is due. And my last slide, I am just over time. For the first year and a half of the program, we have certified 17 guides so far. Many of these are leaders in the field. Many of these are folks that are actually owners and employers along the coast. So we've been able to certify those 17, and we hope to continue building on that community and on those cohorts as we finish out the first 2 years of this program. All right, so our next speaker who will be up is Matt Kenworthy. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, everybody. So I just wanted to give a brief overview of a CIG funded project that myself and graduate student Cameron Atkinson are going to be working on. And it's evaluating the use of an alternative hardscape for oyster restoration in Georgia's estuaries. I think we all respect that loose relic shell placed in bags is a good method for restoring oyster reefs. However, there is some room for expanding this and evaluating new approaches. And the material that we are going to be using is it's called oyster catcher material. It is a plant-based jute material, which is dipped in cement and wet formed into various shapes. As you can see on the right of this slide, we are going to be using this tabletop structure that can be basically placed down into the mud as a replacement for oyster bag shell. Next slide. For evaluating this, we're going to be doing the run-of-the-mill sampling techniques. We're going to be measuring oyster reef density, recruitment, growth. We're going to be using various gears to evaluate the nekton community that are utilizing these different types of oyster reefs, from fishes to crustaceans. And we also have a component where we are recruiting recreational fishermen to actually go out and sample these reefs with hook and line to provide an additional data component, and also bring together recreational users and research in this process. Next slide. And finally, we are incorporating some technology in our evaluation of these habitats to, one, we're going to use unmanned aircraft to monitor these reefs. We are going to fly these reefs, create digital elevation models, look at these model changes over time to quantify reef growth, expansion, as well as impacts on the surrounding shoreline and sediment accumulation. And on the right, you see an example of an ARIS 3000, which uses underwater sound similar to a side scan sonar technology. We place that equipment out by the structure. It collects data. You can see an example in the bottom right of this slide of the type of data that we can collect. And we are going to use this as a additional quantification of the fish that are utilizing these different types of reefs to see if there's any differences between one reef type and the other. And hopefully this time next year, we'll have some pretty images and some cool videos to share about this project. And thanks for your interest.
Thanks, Matt. That's cool technology. Very, very interesting. Our next speaker is Kim Minja, or Minja Kim, excuse me.
Hi, good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Katie, I think those are actually my slides.
Sorry, Talia, you are absolutely correct. You are the next person. I skipped a person. I apologize, Minja. Talia, your slides, you're on.
Hi, everyone. My name is Talia Levine. I'm a graduate student, a master's student at Odom School of Ecology, advised by Lori Fowler. And I was a 2019 graduate research trainee through Georgia Sea Grant. Today, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about my research on Aurochlor 1268 and mercury in fish commonly consumed by humans and Atlantic bottlenose dolphins in Brunswick, Georgia. So my study site is adjacent to the LCP Superfund site in Brunswick. 670 acres of this are tidal marshland, and mercury and polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, are two of the contaminants of concern at the site. And I'm going to be focusing specifically on Aurochlor 1268, which is a PCB mixture that's become associated with the LCP site. Both mercury and PCBs are persistent toxins, but PCBs are also lipophilic and readily attract to fattier tissues of organisms. Next slide, please. So there's been a lot of environmental sampling conducted in Brunswick, and a standout study was on the dolphin population there, in which a male Brunswick dolphin was documented as having the highest PCB concentrations of any marine mammal in the world. And dolphins are piscivorous and primarily consume fish. They're also thought of as a sentinel species, indicating health effects that humans residing and feeding from the same environments may encounter. Next slide, please. There are fishing advisories in Brunswick, and these are based upon filleted fish samples. But there's some evidence that not all recreational anglers in this area are filleting their fish. There was some surveying conducted in Brunswick in which approximately 50% of respondents reported always or sometimes consuming whole fish. And if that is the case, they're likely ingesting, in particular, larger quantities of PCBs than advised. So with that in mind, I sampled 3 species of fish that are commonly consumed by recreational anglers as well as dolphins in this area. Next slide, please. And the applications of this research are really to help this community navigate the advisories. I've included a little snippet here from the EPD website, and these are available online. But as you can see, they vary by species, and they can be a little bit complex to navigate if you're not overly familiar with them. So the first tool I'm working on are some interactive advisory maps that allow anglers to access species and location-specific information for the fishing spots they're utilizing. And the second resource is a children's book called Daryl the Dolphin. It's bilingual, and its purpose is to educate the community about the fishing advisories and the importance of adhering to proper fish cleaning procedures. And with that, I will thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Talia. And now, Minja, this is your turn to speak. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Minja Gaim, and I'm a PhD student in Civil Engineering Department of Georgia Tech. My research is focused on to develop a comprehensive urban hydrology hydraulics model to assess coastal flooding of Taylor County of Georgia. The goal of research, the first one is that identification and the assessment of flooding drivers such as sea level rise, river stage, and extreme weather events. And the second one is to forecast of flooding with various scenarios. Next slide, please. This slide shows the research result. I simulate the Hurricane Mary of 2016, and the left-hand side image shows the Savannah River model diagram and its result in graph. And with this, it have this kind of reliable result. So using that result as a boundary condition, the right-hand side image show the urban drainage model. And can you click the image? Yes. And with the precipitation and the boundary condition from the Savannah River model, you can estimate or forecast the overflow of water as the size of the bubble in the map. So with that, we can estimate some type of the flooding, especially flash flooding, which is hard to estimate in these days. Next slide. So this research can make us expect this type of results. Like the first one is compounded flood risk assessment. It can help to identify major coastal flooding driver or drivers, and it can provide the technical support for land use and mitigation plan for future urban development. And the third one is that it can provide the flood risk mapping for public and commercial use, and it can generate an easy and accessible map for flooding risk to public and enhance the awareness of coastal flooding to public and local economic. Thank you.
Thank you, Minja. The next speaker is Nina Cesano.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nina Cesano. I'm an educator and the intern coordinator with the UGA Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant. I would just love to echo what Mona and some others have said, is that it is so awesome to see so many students participating in this research symposium. It's great to see all you. presenting your work and showing us what you've been doing, and it's really cool. So anyway, that's my job, is to tell you about our student opportunities. If you wouldn't mind advancing to the next slide, please, Katie. Oh, okay, perfect. So starting with some of our upper level student opportunities, and this is for interested students and mentors for more information for you as well. We have our Knaus Marine Policy Fellowship, is a national level fellowship that is a 12-month paid position for students who are currently enrolled and about to finish their upper level degrees, so masters and PhDs. Our Coastal Management and Digital Coast Fellowship is a 2-year fellowship in coastal resource management. So this is for people who have already completed their degrees. And then we have our Marine Fisheries and Sea Grant Joint Fellowship for PhD students interested in population dynamics and marine resources economics. Next slide, please, Katie. And then we have a bunch of state fellowships, our Marine Education Fellowships. You've met one of our Marine Education Fellows today, is for students who have recently finished their bachelor's degree and are looking for that gap year in between the next steps, whether they want to continue on with school or continue into the professional world. This fellowship gives them a lot of experience in marine education. Our state fellowship matches graduate students with local, state, and federal agencies. So those students get hands-on work with those agencies and get a better idea of how that professional world looks. Our legal fellowship is for legal students, students enrolled in legal law programs to have a chance to work with lawyers in environmental justice and environmental law. And then finally, you've heard a lot from our research trainees today. We have a research traineeship, which is for undergraduate or graduate students seeking support and mentorship as they continue their research endeavors through school. Of course, we also have so many internship opportunities for currently enrolled students. These are semester-based, so they can either be fall, spring, or summer. Some are paid, some are unpaid, some can give you academic or experiential learning credit. Either way, they're all great opportunities, and we have a ton of focus areas. So if you or a student you know might be interested in any of these opportunities, you can go check out our student opportunities webpage, learn more, or shoot me an email or a phone call. I'll be happy to talk to you more about it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Nina. And I think we have just enough time to introduce Beth Paciatti. I hope I said your name right, Beth.
That's fine. I'll be quick.
Okay, excellent. Go ahead. You've got the last 3 minutes of our lightning rounds.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Beth Paciatti. I'm the grants coordinator for the Coastal Management section of Coastal Resources Division. It's nice to see and familiar faces and names. And I did want to point everyone to our website for more information on the Coastal Incentive Grant. And especially, we've just added a couple of story maps made by Colby that give an idea of the last 2 years of Coastal Incentive Grants, and they are awesome. So please take a look at our website. Next slide, please. So the Coastal Incentive Grant Program is a competitive pass-through subgrant made possible by a grant to DNR from NOAA. And each year, the Coastal Management Program allocates a portion of this funding to the Coastal Incentive Grants. Next slide. So in the past over 20 years now, we have made possible over $20 million for Coastal Incentive Grants, and more than 400 projects have been funded. And many of them are research-based, and so they are it's a very relevant funding opportunity for research projects. The themes for the Coastal Incentive Grants are oceans and wetlands, public access and land conservation, sustainable communities, disaster resilience and coastal hazards, and non-point source pollution. And specifically related to research proposals, they do need to address a documented coastal management need, and produce information, products, or results immediately useful to coastal managers and or local communities. In some basic terms about the Coastal Incentive Grant, there is $80,000 available per project, and you can have a 2-year maximum term, and the grant request must be matched 1-to-1 from non-federal sources. So like I said, if you want more information, you can check out our website and contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you everybody that has presented and introduced yourself.